Stephanie White baffles fans with mystery surrounding Caitlin Clark's injury. Clark's lingering groin injury leaves fans frustrated as updates remain vague. Caitlin Clark may have been the face of the WNBA All-Star weekend, but she wasn't on the court. Instead of dazzling in the three-point contest or leading as a team captain in front of her home crowd, the Indiana Fever star was reduced to a coaching role on the sideline, as her recent groin injury has left fans reeling with concern and confusion. The heartbreaking moment came late in Indiana's 85-77 win over the Connecticut Sun when Clark dished a bounce pass and immediately clutched the inside of her right thigh. It was clear something was wrong. She leaned against the stanchion in visible pain, her face etched with frustration as she exited the court. Head coach Stephanie White later revealed that Clark felt a little something in her groin and called her day-to-day. White initially tried to reassure the public, describing the injury status as positive and sharing that Clark was progressing. However, the absence of any concrete timeline has only fueled fan frustration. As Clark missed her second consecutive game, the public was eager for a real update. Instead, they were left disappointed again. On Tuesday, reporter Chloe Peterson confirmed that Coach White had no update on Caitlin Clark or a potential timeline. Though Clark had reportedly visited another doctor that same morning, White admitted, "I haven't spoken with trainers about that yet." It was a strikingly vague statement, particularly considering Clark's value to the Fever and the league as a whole. Clark has already missed 11 games this season dealing with the same right groin issue, which has now disrupted her participation in both marquee events and regular season matchups. Another defeat for Fever. Indiana's latest stumble came against the defending champion New York Liberty, a team that has now bested the Fever 3 times this season. Despite holding a 7-point lead late in the third quarter, Indiana unraveled again, with the Fever losing 98-84. Indiana led 46-42 at halftime, locked down All-Star guard Sabrina Ionescu early thanks to Ari McDonald's suffocating defense, and looked like a team ready to prove they belonged in the playoff picture. But as has happened far too often this season, the momentum didn't hold. After a reporter asked about a repeated refrain from players like Natasha Howard, Kelsey Mitchell, and Sophie Cunningham regarding unfamiliarity with opponents, White pushed back. "I don't know if it's not knowing as much as having awareness when you're on there," White said. "If you quiz them on the scouting report, they know it. But recognizing it in live action, understanding again what we're willing to live with playing tendencies. Because at the end of the day, players make plays." The Fever's second-half performances continue to haunt them. Statistically, they're one of the worst second-half teams in the WNBA, outscored by an average of 6 points after halftime. And Tuesday night was no exception. They were up 67-60 with 3 minutes left in the third quarter. By the time the fourth began, they were trailing, and it only got worse. In that crucial 7-minute stretch across quarters, Indiana managed just 3 points. White pointed out exactly what didn't happen on the defensive end. Not letting players who like to drive left, not allowing wide open. Catch-and-shoot threes to three-point shooters, disrupting their rhythm, she said. It started with a limp. A subtle moment during the third quarter, just a fraction of a second, when Caitlin Clark favored her left foot before continuing the possession like nothing happened. Cameras barely caught it. Commentators speculated but moved on. But for fans of the Indiana Fever and followers of Caitlin Clark's electrifying WNBA debut season, that moment would ignite a storm of questions, theories, and frustration. At the center of it all stood head coach Stephanie White, quiet, poised, and curiously cryptic. The disappearing act. Caitlin Clark had been the heartbeat of the Fever's rejuvenation. A rookie phenom with no interest in easing her way into the league, she brought flair, passion, and ratings. Every game she played brought full arenas, screaming fans, and viral highlights. That's why when she was listed as day-to-day, without further explanation, fans didn't just raise eyebrows, they raised alarms. Post-game pressers turned tense. When asked directly about the nature of Clark's injury, Stephanie White gave reporters the same line on multiple occasions. "We're monitoring it internally. It's not something we're overly concerned about at this point." That statement, calm on the surface, quickly felt like a riddle. Was it a foot injury? An ankle sprain? A muscle strain? Something worse? When pressed further, White simply smiled and deflected. For Fever fans desperate for transparency, it felt like being handed a locked box and told, "Don't worry about what's inside." Fans left guessing. Social media lit up like wildfire. Hashtags like #WhereIsClark, #FeverTransparency, and #StephanieSpeakUp began trending regionally. Speculation ranged from the benign, she just needs rest after carrying the team, to the dramatic, she tore something, and they're hiding it until after the All-Star break. Fan accounts analyzed slow-motion clips of her movements before she sat out. Sports medicine TikTok creators started diagnosing her from blurry game footage. Fever message boards became amateur medical symposiums. But the real anxiety wasn't just about the injury, it was about the silence. Stephanie White wasn't just the coach. She was now the gatekeeper of the truth. And the longer she held the door shut, the more people demanded to see inside. A calculated mystery? Some sports writers speculated that White's silence was strategic. In a league fighting for visibility and parity, Caitlin Clark was a golden asset. Disclosing too much about her condition could draw headlines that overshadowed the team or jeopardized the Fever's momentum. But others wondered if White was protecting Clark from herself. The rookie had already earned a reputation as a competitor who hated sitting out, even if it meant playing through pain. One anonymous WNBA assistant coach told a reporter off the record, "If Caitlin even looks like she's hurting, you need to lock her in a room to stop her from suiting up." Could Stephanie White have been shielding her star not just from public scrutiny, but from her own will to push through injury? The plot thickens. Things took a stranger turn during a nationally televised game against the Las Vegas Aces. Clark was seen on the bench in full warm-ups, but never checked in. No boot, no ice, no visible discomfort, just smiles and high fives. Yet, when the sideline reporter asked White pregame if Clark would play, her answer was cryptic as ever. "We'll see how things develop." That's when the conspiracy theories really took flight. Was it psychological warfare? Was White saving her for a playoff push? Was Clark nursing something that could end her season if pushed too far? Why hadn't the Fever released an official injury report with more details? To some fans, the mystery began to feel more theatrical than tactical.